Now for a quick Devar Torah. And as we approach Pesach, one of the signs of a free people is to is is in the Seder. The Seder is basically a lot of questions, and we try to answer, but it starts off with questions, and this is a sign that we were free. A free people ask questions. Now we just don't ask any questions. We have to determine if the question is asked because the person who asking the question really wants an answer, or are they asking it to disrupt. As we see from the four sons, the first son, who's referred to as the wise son, wants to know all the details of the Seder. What do I have to do? All the, you know, every little issue that comes up with the Seder, because he wants to know that he can do it better. That's the first son. He's asking for information. And it's sort of like strange that the answer we give him is don't eat anything after the afikomen. In other words, after dessert, you can't eat anything. It's like, what type of answer is that? The answer for that is remember the Seder is an experiential event. Experience the Seder. Don't worry about all the intricate halachot per se about the Seder. Experience it. Feel like you're leaving Egypt. Uh, because that's what the Seder is about. We're leaving Egypt. Feel like you've just gotten your freedom. And that's what the Seder is really about. So that's the answer to the wise son. Then the wicked son asks a very different question. He says, what's all this work to you? Why do you bother? And if it's all just a bother, why do we bother? Why bother? In other words, he's there to disrupt. His question is not one for information. It's to make a point. I am above you. And this is something that you see uh, later on in the Torah. We have the whole story of Korach and his group. And Korach asks Moshe, he says, a room full of Sifrei Torah, does it need a mezuzah? Does a room full of Sifrei Torah need a mezuzah? And Moshe recognizes this is not a question for information. He's asking to disrupt, to make it, to take over, if you will. That's what the wicked son is trying to do. He's trying to take over the Seder, to disrupt it, to let you know that this is nothing special. And therefore the answer to him is you set his teeth on edge. Yes, you set his teeth on edge. In fact, if you read it very carefully, there's an interesting gematria uh, that if you take the word Rasha and look at the gematria and take the gematria of teeth out of the word Rasha, you end up with Sadiq. His evil is through his mouth. The way that and this is, by the way, a very typical thing about a lot of people. I'm only asking questions, but they're not asking questions. They're making a point. And this is why we have to be careful. We want you to ask questions. We want you to learn more. But even within the learning, don't forget to experience the event. But what we don't want is someone coming in who's asking questions to disrupt. That there's a limit to what we will put up with. So it's something important to know that the sign of a free person is that he can ask questions. He can look into and investigate. A slave cannot do that. Something to think about.